Ciao, jewelry making friends. My name is Joeebalestrieri. Welcome to my work table. I'm so glad that you are here. I have pulled out some beads that I purchased at one of our national chains, Michael's, if you are in America. And I intend to do a tribute piece to the 70-foot sperm whale who beached himself in Sarasota, Florida, when I was there doing bead shopping and filming a video for my channel. If you did not see that video, I put footage of the whale at the end of the video and sort of explained what happened to him, but he did pass away of natural causes the following day after he made his appearance in my video. And he was very moving to me, and I have not been able to stop thinking about seeing that whale. It's very unusual for a whale to be on this coast of Florida, and I've lived in Florida since 1969, and I've logged many hours of beach time and have never seen that. So anyway, he really touched my heart, and I went to Michael's craft store. Right now they have their 60% off all their strung beads, and I had fun. I actually went just specifically to find a whale bead so that I can do a tribute piece to thank Mr. Whale for, you know, letting me see him and being in my video. I get emotional about this whale. It's so crazy, I know, but I am an animal lover, and it was very moving. It was awesome to stand on the beach and see him so close. So I will link that video below, but I found these adorable lamp work beads, and I intend to use those. And then I just pulled out some things like this is crackle glass with an AB finish in sort of the colors of water, and I love lamp work beads. This is Chinese lamp work, and I probably won't use all of these colors. It may not even make its way in, but these aqua and clear ones I thought were pretty. And then I saw this strand of crystals. Doesn't this remind you of like the snow cones that you can get at the little ice cream truck on the beach, or tie-dye t-shirt that you would wear over your bathing suit? It just made me so happy, this ombre effect from the pinks to the yellows to the little bit of green and right into the turquoise watercolor. So this is what I'm going to be designing with. And I've also gone into my stash, and almost everything in this little dish is from the Bead Box Bargains, which is the sister website to Bargain Bead Box. And so almost everything here is from their website and just things that I had in my stash. I put a couple choices of clasps. I'm not even sure if I'm going to do a clasp on this, and just a few different metal spacers. When I start creating, I wanted to have a few options. And one of these Hawaiian like hibiscus flowers that I had in my stash may make its way in. It's the perfect color for Mr. Whale. So I hope you don't think this is silly, but that whale has been on my mind, and I just thought, you know, expressing how I feel about it through my art would be a lovely thing to do. And as I said, I will link that video. And as a follow-up for those of you who didn't see my posts, they were going to euthanize him. They said he'd been sick for a very long time out in the wild, and that apparently they do beach themselves when they know that they're going to die, because they will drown. Otherwise, they are mammals. And he was quite thin, the marine biologist said, which he didn't look thin to me, but they know. And they did not want him to die in vain. So after he passed away, they took tissue samples from every part of him before they drug him back out to sea, because they want to do research, and it is an endangered protected species, and they want to do research and see why he was sick, what made him come to this shore, and, you know, get some answers. So it was, you know, a sad ending, but maybe it will save some other animals. So anyway, this is my project. I am planning to use some of this waxed linen cord. This is a beadsmith item from the craft store, and I really love this turquoise. I don't know how well you can see because it's pretty thin, but it is a little twisted waxed linen cord, and I believe it's going to go through the holes on any of the beads I decide to work with in my pattern. I also pulled out some Soft Flex, my favorite 49 strand medium diameter bead stringing wire, because I was even considering, this is white quartz and I love this white beading material for spring and summer designs. So I was even considering changing my stringing material midway through the piece, but I'm not sure. So this was what was in my project tray when I went into my supply drawers, and you know, kind of how I begin to design something. So I'm going to pause the camera here and cut open my strands and really get a plan, and then I'll come back and show you what this whale of a necklace, this whale tribute, is going to look like. I have cut open all of the beads that are possibilities for my design pattern, and on my ombre I only cut the end off of one strand because I don't want to get these mixed up. It will be much easier to string if I keep the ombre lined up just the way that it came on the strand, and then I can also decide if I need to cut another one and how I'm going to work with that. And I've cut open the whales. Oh my goodness, this is the cutest bead I have ever seen. That is so sweet, and they're actually, you know, lamp work, no two really are alike. So this is the smaller one. This one is a little bit larger, and I do not think that I want to make a pendant out of the whale. I think that I want him to be asymmetrical, like kind of sitting, you know, this way on my collarbone or a little bit lower. And I'm notorious for super long necklaces, and this one is going to be no exception. That is the way I like it. And so it's going to be a little kind of ridiculous length when I start out, but I also had pulled out these little tiny open hearts because, you know, I kind of want this to be an I love whales necklace that I can wear all summer. And I'm thinking that I may just do it long enough to just pull it over my head. And so what I did is I took some of my cording, and I took about 100 inches, or for me it was like about 2 wingspans. And this is the waxed Brazilian cord that Beadsmith makes. And it is amazing because when you make knots in this, they just stay so perfectly. And so what I did is found the middle of, or thereabouts of my cord, and put a little bead stopper, and I cut this end at a really sharp angle, like with my scissors, like at a really sharp angle. And I may have to, since I have so much stringing to do, I may have to make another cut, you know, kind of clean that up. But the cool thing about this, it's quite waxy, and as long as you twist it in the direction of the twist that's already in the cord, it really adheres to itself and makes almost like a little needle. So what I did is I sat here and tested every single bead that I think I might want in my design, to take away anything that was going to give me trouble. And obviously I knew that the whales would work. And this one, I did have to ream it a little bit in case I want this Hawaiian flower. But when I put my little reamer in there, it just, my cord just slides right through. And I'm going to just show you that real quickly for those of you who are new to my channel. If you've been around, you've seen this 100 times, but I have this little set of bead reamers, very inexpensive. I got them from Amazon, and you can see the blue glass on this one because I do have a battery reamer that you need to put under water because it, you know, keeps it from heating up and causing friction. But this is like a little file, and when you need to clear a hole on a bead very gently, it's like filing the inside of the drill hole on a bead, and you can go side to side like that and just clear that hole. And it is amazing. Like, I don't know if you can see like the dust, and sometimes there's even things in there blocking it. So that is all I did, and my waxed cord goes right through there. So I can link this little set below, but let me just pull out a few. I think there was like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 or 6, I don't really remember, but it's like a little set with a larger reamer, a skinnier one, a little file. So if you're doing anything that's sharp with metal, the ends of wire that you've cut, and it is so handy. I just keep it on the side of my work table, and it saves me so much aggravation, especially like on a beading project like this. If I really do want this bead in my design, it's the option is still on the table. So I just check the hole on all of the beads that I think I might be using. These little crackle glass with the AB finish on one side, they have a really nice hole. All my metal spacers that I may want to use are going to fit. And so I am working from the middle out for two reasons. I'm uncertain of my pattern, and also this way, if I want to change something, since I have about 100 inches of cord, I can access from either side. And I also am not sure how many knots I will be making, because it's kind of a free form stringing pattern, and mine is going to be asymmetrical. I think I'm going to vary the pattern, but I'll know more once I get going. But kind of my rule of thumb is, like, if I want a 20-inch necklace, let's say, I would cut at least 60 inches of my cord. And sometimes I'm even more generous than that, because it takes a lot, it eats up a lot of cord to make knots. And you don't even know sometimes when you start a project like this how many knots you will be making. And the more you make, the more cord that you need. And I didn't want to run short. So if I have cut excess, it does not go to waste, because this cord makes fabulous bracelets, fabulous earrings, and you don't need a long length like that. So I don't feel bad cutting it. I would rather not be short. So what I am thinking that I'm going to do is start with my knotting. I absolutely love, I can kind of see the turquoise through those pink crystals, and I really love that look. So I think what I'm going to do is place my first knot right here. And you really don't need a tool for this type of cord. You can just push your knot into place with your finger and pull it tight, and you have your little knot. And so I think what I'm going to do is I work in odd numbers. I started my pattern with 5 beads and a knot, and then I think I'm going to choose one of, I can't decide between this little barrel or this little gold bead. I love them both as spacers. This is a little Stardust spacer bead from Bargain Bead Box. Maybe I'll just do the little small bead and save the barrels for, let's see how it looks. I mean, it is so pretty. It adds a little pop of gold, but these have a little weight to them. Those are just like, once I get going, I'll know. I think I'm going to stick with the gold, because I really want to be able to see the ombre pattern in this necklace. So before I do this one, I will just show you, in case any of you are interested, I have a knotting tweezer, which is a very long, skinny tool with a very tiny little tip, and I do love to use this. If you do not have a knotting tweezer, you can use like anything really small, like your Zuron crimping pliers can work, and let's see, even Zuron round nose pliers are quite small. What else do I have that might work? Oh, probably, I don't have great success with the needle nose pliers from Zuron, but really anything that has a tiny tip if you want to use a knotting tool. And basically, for those of you who are not familiar with it, you just get your knot in there loosely and kind of get it down toward the bead. And then you reach inside your knot with your tweezer and just get a hold of your cord right where it's coming out of the bead, and then just pull. And this has wax on it, so it's going to grab a little bit onto everything, and you can use your tweezer to kind of lock that knot into place. And it's just a nice way if you don't want to use your fingernails as tools. And so that's going to kind of be the look. And then, as I said, I did not disturb my lineup here of my of my crystal beads. So I'm just going to string another 5, and I just really want this ombre to, you know, to really show. And so if you're, after you've strung a few beads, you may notice that your little needle that you've made is, you know, kind of coming undone, but there's the wax. If you just repinch it, like pinch and twist, you get your needle back. And so I'm going to continue in this way, get a little bit of length strung, and then I will start deciding about the larger beads that I want to add into the pattern, and, you know, kind of leading up to my whale. And I may string this on. It may end up being a dangle, or like, I really didn't want to do a pendant on this. That doesn't mean I won't end up doing it. Like I say, I'm just totally having fun with these colorful, beautiful supplies, and just, you know, had the idea of making a fun, like, necklace for the season. And so I'm going to just continue off camera, continuing in this way, stringing, and in between my segments, doing these simple overhand knots. And I really do like my knotting tool, so I probably will continue using it. But as I said, you can use just about anything, and with this wax cord you can use nothing, and it works just fine. I just like this tool. But I also, you know, I just love the way it looks. It's just beautiful. I want my beads to move a little bit in between my knots. So that is where I'm going, and I'm going to keep stringing, and I will check back in and show you where I'm at with the project. I am absolutely loving the way this little piece is coming out. Look at this, you guys. I've strung one of the ombre strands, just one, from the pink up to the turquoise, with the knots and the little gold spacer beads in between. And then when I got to this point, I decided to do one of these crackle glass beads. Doesn't it kind of look like the bubbles or the foam from the ocean? It just kind of like speaks to me. It's a little metaphorical whale in the ocean. So I stacked a few of my little flat gold spacer discs and another one of those, and I'm going to put a knot here, and this little whale segment is hopefully, I mean, I'm not totally sure still of my exact pattern, but I think that he's going to end up being kind of where I can see him, like down below my collarbone. I'm not sure, but that is why I started in the middle of my length. And I actually think I want to go ahead and put another one of those crackle beads with the AB finish, and, you know, kind of make a little bit of a segment here to really showcase the whale, kind of frame him out. So I just wanted to check in, and, you know, I still have a lot of stringing and knotting to do, but I honestly love this type of a project. It's relaxing. It is so much fun and really creative. And I kind of make these choices about the color and the spacers as I go along. But this is what it looks like so far, and I am going to continue. And what I think I'm going to do is cut another strand and start with pink here. I'll have a look at it and decide, but I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to keep stringing and knotting, and I will check back in. As is often the case with me, this quiet time when I am stringing and knotting, and, you know, I have everything out that I plan to use in my design, or possibly will use in my design, I start thinking, and it's just my creative juices get flowing. So I'll show you where my head has gone as I have been doing this bit of the necklace. So I want this to hang quite a bit below my collarbone in an asymmetrical way. So it would look something like that. I know it might be difficult to see on my mat. And what I decided to do is make this a double strand into single strand asymmetrical necklace. And I've never done this before, so this is design on the fly, but I cut another piece, and I just chose about 30 inches this time. because as I said, I'm just kind of thinking this through, and I have not worked out the mechanics of this because I've never done this before. But what I'm going to do is come right underneath my whale to this little spot right here. I have not been stringing my beads really tight, just because I love seeing this beautiful color of the cording in between the beads and through the crystal beads. It just looks amazing. And this ombre effect is just so beautiful, and that's what got me thinking, just the way that you see the turquoise cording going through. That's what got me thinking, I don't want to lose this up around my neck when I wear this. I really would like to kind of showcase this. So what I'm going to do is take this second piece of cording, and I'm going to get a knot right here. Let me just tie the knot, and then I'll see what I want to do with that. So I'm just going to come into that little space and just get an overhand knot. If you've never worked with waxed cord before, it is really amazing for a knotting project because your knots really get locked into place and they stay put. So it's not super easy to take something off when you need to, but you know, you can if you have to. So that is all I'm going to do, is just add in a little knot there. And so I don't know, I'm going to leave this little tail for now, because sometimes what I do is string a tiny little bead on and then take my tweezer and like fray the ends. I may decide that I just want it to cleanly come off of there. So that is what I'm going to do. And then what I think is that I'm going to cut another one of these ombre strands and do the pink coming beside here and going back. And when I get onto this side, I'm pretty sure that I can easily fit 2 strands maybe through one of these lampwork beads. I'll play with the asymmetrical pattern continuing. But the other thing that I did is I went to get my bin that has all of my heart beads, because as I said, I want this to be sort of I love whales theme bracelet. And I was digging through here. I have had these for about 100 years. They are glass hearts with the little simple loop already embedded into the glass. And it looks like I have a green, some clear. I have a couple of colors in there that might work. And then I got these at a bead show. They have a coating on them that's anti-tarnish, and they are beautiful with a really pretty like brushed finish. This is a Michael's craft store item, and this has a really large hole, and that could be pretty with my turquoise cord kind of showing through the middle of a heart. And let's see, oh, I have a few of these check glass green hearts left over from last month's Potomac treasure box. So I think I'm going to just put those out here on my work table as well. Oh, and one more. Let me see. One more. This is a craft store item as well. A little check glass strand, and these little blue hearts. Let's see how they look. They're a really good color with my whale. So maybe those. I'm just going to set some hearts here on the side of my work table in case I want to add them in as I get my second strand going, and then what I'm going to feed back into a single strand, if that makes sense. So let's see what I have here. This little green heart. Oh, that's really pretty with the green crystals. I have a larger one, and I have a couple of these little pink ones. They're not bad either, and a couple of clear ones. So there's some possibility for adding some little heart interest into my whale project. Okay, and then from here I'm just going to cut another one of these strands and start stringing and do the exact same thing that I was doing before is just pinch my cord and string 5 beads. So if your cord gets blunt, you can do a really like sharp angled cut and twist it back into a needle and resume stringing. So I'm going to continue doing my 5 beads all the way until I meet the other side, and I will meet you back as soon as I am ready to go back into a single strand and make those pattern decisions with the beads that I have out here. I also have decided to change up this second row of beads. So I am going to do the same thing with the ombre effect and spacing out each group of 5 beads with a gold spacer bead, but I'm going to switch to these kind of barrel or tube spacer beads, and I'm going to do it, you know, for interest, but also these have a little weight to them where these are hollow little stardust beads, and I do think that this is going to hang a little bit better to have my strand coming around, having a little bit of weightiness to it, just to make the bottom of the necklace hang better. So that is what I'm going to do. Here's how that first section added in looks with a knot, and I'm going to continue the same way, doing an overhand knot and reaching inside and pulling it tight, and just bring that knot down to that little bead. And then I'm going to continue keeping my little ombre in line so I don't mix up the colors. I might have to give myself a fresh cut again, but you know, that's okay. That's why I cut extra of this cord, because as you string, you do start to lose a little bit of your wax and your needle gets misshapen. I'm not going to let the camera run because this is like watching paint dry to watch someone string beads. But that's all I'm doing, and I'm sorry about all the color and all the mess on my mat, but I'm just pulling from the strand, keeping that beautiful tie-dye or, you know, snow cone look going, so I don't make it difficult to keep that pattern going. I'm just going to string it down and continue with my overhand knot. And when I get one full strand done, plus maybe a little bit extra of the turquoise, because I need this second strand to be a tiny bit longer than the one that I started on. When I get to that point, I will come back and show you what I decide to do with adding it in. So I've pulled everything out, but I'll show you what I've decided to do where the second strand is going to feed back into a single strand. I'm kind of leaning toward this bead, but when I get there, I'll have a look and we can look at it together. So I'll continue with my stringing and knotting, and with my little bit heavier spacer bead. And when I get all the way back to the single strand, I will be back. I am so happy with the way this is turning out. So I know it is a little bit difficult to see at this point, but my second strand is done, and it just hangs slightly below the strand that has the whale on it. And as I was stringing, what I discovered is that my little gold cylinder spacer beads will accommodate 2 cords at once. So I can take my original strand, as you can see, I still have a lot of length on that one. I can take my original strand and feed both cords through. And if I'd known that this was going to be my design when I started, I would have done this on the other end too. But so see, it just goes really nicely. It's not tight. It's pulling really nicely through. So if you're going to do a similar design to this, that you might want to think about looking ahead of time for a spacer bead with a larger hole. I didn't realize I was going to do a double strand when I started stringing. So let me just pull my second strand up to meet the other one, and then I can tie a knot right there. When I stretch it out, I can see that this one that I just added in is just a little bit longer. And so it lays perfectly and they will intermingle. And I love having alternated the ombre of the crystals. And then look how beautifully this feeds right into that gold tube. I absolutely love that. So now I can take both strands here and tie an overhand knot and cut away my second cord that I added in and continue to bead up to the back of the necklace. So while I was looking at everything, I pulled away and tried it on myself in the asymmetrical, like where my whale will lay lower than my collarbone. I kind of want to be able to see him. And I think that I'm going to have the perfect length with using the entire 4 strands that were on this card and adding in some of my other items that I want to embellish with. So I'm just pulling away to find that shorter strand because that's the one that I'm going to cut away. And so from here I can start stringing up the other side of my necklace. And I do want to put like one of my larger beads here. So I was thinking it could be this flower. It could be a little grouping of the flower and these beads here. So I'm going to play with that. I did check before I started stringing to make sure that my waxed cord goes through everything. And so I'm going to play around with that. And you know, I'm back to just a single strand, and I still haven't decided if I'm going to make this just a pull over my head necklace or if I'm going to use one of the clasps. I think I'll use up the rest of my beads in this stringing and knotting pattern and kind of see, you know, see what it looks like. And see if I want to have a clasp, or, you know, because the clasp can also add a little bit of length. So see where my beads bring me, and then I'll decide that. And so I am going to pause here again and I'll be back. I'm just checking in. So I did decide to cut away the excess of my cord that I was working with, and it's a perfect amount left for a bracelet. And then I just created this little section with those stunning lampwork beads and a tropical hibiscus flower. And then I have cut another one of my strands, and I decided to pick up with the pink here since this section is in my blue water colors. And I'm going to bead this side all the way up. I've resumed back with my little sparkly spacer beads, the little stardust I meant to say. And I'm going to do that up to this side, and then I'm going to come back over to the side that my whale is on and do this last strand in the exact same way. And then I will check my length. I'll go to the mirror actually and check my length. And from there, I'm going to decide if I want to add a clasp or something else around the back of my neck. I am also kind of playing with the idea of doing a little section of these green check glass hearts. They look so great in this design. So they may make their way up this side, or maybe even just above the whale, or maybe both. So I'm kind of playing with that idea in my pattern, but I just wanted to check in and show you how my progress is coming along. It's very repetitive, but really relaxing and really joyful. I mean, the colors and the beauty of what I am working with is just making me so unbelievably happy. I just love the way this is turning out. So I'm going to just continue. I'm still with those 5 beads and then a knot, 5 beads and then a knot. I like working with odd numbers. I think it's really pleasing in design. So I am just going to continue getting my 5 crystals, another knot, then a gold stardust bead, another knot, and just that way. So that is the pattern that I've kind of settled on, and it's just turning out great. So I'm going to keep working, and I'll pause another time, and I'll be back so we can finish this together and decide if we're going to add in hearts, and if where. So I'll save those little embellishments for the end. Oh wow, I love this. Look how great this turned out. It is absolutely beautiful. So as I was finishing the stringing and knotting, I decided to put a little jump ring. Let me zoom in here. Put a little jump ring right there and dangle one of those green glass hearts, and then I had a larger one. So over here on this side, because I want to keep with my asymmetrical design, I put another jump ring, a little bit larger one, and I'm going to add that other little heart right there and close that jump ring really well. And I have also made a decision about the clasp, which is going to be a non-clasp, kind of a faux clasp, if you will, and it's going to look really cool and something a little bit different. So I know this is super long and really hard to see. I love long necklaces, and I really wanted a long necklace. So let me zoom back out and kind of show you. The little hearts are going to dangle here, and of course at the end I'll get some pictures up and show you how it actually looks on, and I have a try-on video coming up soon as well, so I'll put this on and stand up because it's a long necklace. So I also just wanted to show you what happened in my pattern here too. I used 6 of those green glass hearts that I had left over from the Potomac bead box, and in keeping with my asymmetrical design, I just took a little break in the ombre or tie-dye sequence of beads here and did 2 little stations with those green glass hearts, and then bringing in my other gold spacer tubes just to keep consistency and continuity in the pattern. And then above the whale, I just did 1 section. I really like working in odd numbers. It comes from my design background, and especially on an asymmetrical necklace, it's just really pleasing to the eye. So I ended up with 3 of those little heart stations, and you know, I did 5 in my little groups of beads in between my knots, and I just love the way that it turned out. So as it happens, I literally had just 4 of the turquoise crystals left over, and I still had plenty of my spacers, but in my stringing, as I told you, I discovered that 2 strands easily go through this spacer tube. And so I'm going to do 1 strand through the spacer tube this way, and I'm going to take my other strand and go back through the spacer tube in the opposite direction. I really don't need any length. My necklace is quite long. I have not measured it yet, but I will. And so I'm just pulling those in the opposite direction. So again, I realize it's long, but this strand is going through the tube this way, through the spacer tube, and this strand is going through that way. And so it, you know, it just almost looks like a little bit of a faux clasp. And then what I'm going to do is come right here and make a knot, because I want to hold that in place. And you know, it kind of marks the spot for the back of the necklace. So I'm just going to put a knot in there and just get that down. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side, another one of my little overhand knots. And I have been using my knotting tweezers. I just really like that. I like being able to get super close to my bead and not have unwanted space. Of course, it slipped out of my hand that time, so let me open it up again, go again. So just reaching inside that loop right next to the bead. So where that point of your tweezer is where your knot will land when you're using a knotting tweezer, and then just pull and take your tweezer out. And then I don't like to use my fingernails as tools if I can help it, so I like to use the tweezer to push that knot down. And now I can go ahead and trim some of this length away, and I will not throw this away because this is going to be perfect for knotted bracelets. I didn't have too much waste, just a little bit. And then I'm going to, since I had 4 of my turquoise beads, I'm just going to make some little dangles on the end here of each of these. So it's kind of a faux clasp. It's not functioning, but it looks a little bit like a clasp, has a little charm at the back of the neck, and it just looks finished and lovely. So let's see. I have my 2. Oh, this is what happens. I had thought I might use a magnetic clasp, and I pulled out my 2 little spacer beads for the dangles, and the magnetic clasp grabbed a hold of them. Love those magnetic clasps. So I'm just going to do the same thing on both strands. A turquoise crystal, a gold stardust spacer ball like that. I'm going to leave a little bit of length for it to move and just do an overhand knot. And I don't want it tight. I want these 2 dangles, so I think I'm going to come down a little ways and just put my knot there. And oh my goodness, I don't know if my microphone is picking up the wind, but my wind chimes on my patio are just making a lot of noise. So I'm just cutting just that little bit of a tail from away from my knot, and I'm just going to take my tweezers. You can use the tip of your pliers, and I'm just going to fray, just make like a little tassel end after my knot. Just a little sweet little detail, just like that. And then those little beads will just dangle at the back of the neck, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. I just wanted to make sure it was secure, because there would be a little bit of you know, pressure on it. So right here where I added in, you know, went 2 strands up to 1 strand, I did my knot there and just put a little dot of GS hypo cement, and same thing right here, right there where the 2 strands feed back into 1 strand. I did the knot and added a tiny bit of GS hypo cement, and I think I'm going to do that to the back of this necklace as well. And I want these to be pretty close to the same length. It doesn't have to be, really. It's just a little like embellishment at the back of the neck, sort of the way we might add a charm to, you know, our clasp. For me, the elements in this, the colors of the water, the colors of, you know, snow cones or Italian ice on the beach, and my whale and my tropical hibiscus flower, and like all of this just is, to me, has the fun, happy spring, summer vibe, like spring vacation, summer break vibe, but, you know, all colorful and elegant at the same time. You know, whimsical, but still elegant. Like I can see this with like a really long linen white top and pants. I love wide leg pants in the summer. So I am really excited to wear this season. And I made it long and just popped over the head, because in Florida we wear a lot of sunscreen and it's hot, and I like things to be away from my neck. So that's what I decided for my little closure on this piece. And I just absolutely love, love, love the way that this turned out. So I am going to add a tiny dot of GS hypo cement to the back of my necklace, just because gravity is going to, you know, constantly be tugging on those knots. So I'm just going to do a tiny little dot there and a tiny little dot here. I am so thrilled, and thank you, Mr. Whale, who came to the Florida shores and allowed me to see him and film him before he passed away, because he has inspired me so much, and I have not been able to stop thinking about the beauty of seeing a whale on the shores of, you know, the place I've lived for a really, really long time. So I will put some pictures up at the end of the video And you know, I just want to say that like these green glass hearts that were left over from my Potomac treasure box this month, that's one of the things that I love about getting a box. Green is not my favorite color, and I probably would have never ordered on my own green glass hearts. You know, I just probably would not have. But they are fabulous. They look so beautiful in this, and I was so glad that I had them. So I just, you know, love my subscription boxes, and the ones that you see on my channel, I do really love them. And I am actually going, speaking of Potomac beads, I'm going to do something else on this necklace. As I said, we live in Florida, we deal with tarnish, we have a lot of humidity, our skin is moist all season, sunscreen, all of that. So I love this product. It is Potomac Permalac Clear, and it is a protective coating. And so when I use a bead like this, or like these little stardust beads that are just fashion jewelry, they, you know, are not gold filled, and they're not brass, they're just fashion jewelry with a coating. I am going to take a moment to brush this little coating on every single one of these little spacer beads that I put in my project, because this way all of that knotting and all that stringing and the beauty of my lamp work beads, my beautiful little glass whale, will, you know, have longevity, and I'll be able to wear this for many seasons. It doesn't take very long, and I don't always show this, but most of the time when I have finished a video and stopped the camera, I take a minute to just brush this little coating on any of the base metal findings that I've included, and you know, it just adds longevity to my piece. So I will take 5 minutes and do the length of the whole necklace, and this dries really, really fast. And I can link this product below if you're interested. You can also use nail lacquer for this, and I do that sometimes when I'm making my own boho beads, but I don't know if you can see how very thin this Permalac is. So it goes on really thin, it dries really invisibly, and you know, dries quickly. So it's become my new favorite, and it's not very expensive. So I'll link that in the description box below in case any of you are interested. I will even like brush over my jump rings and everything, and then I will not have tarnish on this piece as I wear it through the season. So I am so thankful that you chose my video today. I'm so happy that you were at my work table with me today, and if you have not sent me a picture of your little jewelry helpers with furry faces, the community is really enjoying seeing what's behind the scenes of everyone's work tables. So I'll put my email in the description box below, and I hope everyone is safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. Ciao, jewelry making friends.